And Senator Bernie Sanders joins us now. Welcome to This Week. Why are you the best choice for President of the United States?
Because for the last 30 years, I've been standing up for the working families of this country, and I think I'm the only candidate who is prepared to take on the billionaire class, which now controls our economy and increasingly controls the political life of this country. We need a political revolution in this country involving millions of people who are prepared to stand up and say enough is enough, and I want to help lead that effort.
So does that mean that Hillary Clinton's part of the billionaire class?
It means that Hillary Clinton has been part of the political establishment for many, many years. I have known Hillary for some 25 years. I respect her and I like her. But I think what the American people are saying, George, is that at a time when 99% of all new income is going to the top 1%, and when the top 1/10 of 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%, maybe it's time for real political shakeup in this country and go beyond establishment politics.
So you're asking for a lot of shakeup. Is it really possible for someone who calls himself a socialist to be elected President of the United States?
Well, so long as we know what democratic socialism is. And if we know that in countries in Scandinavia, like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, they are very democratic countries. Obviously, the voter turnout is a lot higher than it is in the United States. In those countries, health care is a right of all people. In those countries, college education, graduate school is free. In those countries, retirement benefits, child care are stronger than in the United States of America. And in those countries, by and large, government works for ordinary people in the middle class rather than, as is the case right now in our country, for the billionaire class.
I can hear the Republican attack ad right now. He wants America to look more like Scandinavia.
That's right. That's right. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong when you have more income and wealth equality? What's wrong when they have a middle class in many ways than we do, a higher minimum wage than we do, when they're stronger on the environment than we do? Look, the fact of the matter is we do a lot in our country, which is good, but we can learn from other countries. We have, George, the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth at the same time as we're seeing a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires. Frankly, I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think that's what America is about.
You're the longest serving independent in Congress, as I said, and when you announced Thursday, you said you'd remain an independent, but now you're prepared to file as a Democrat?
No, look, in my heart, I am an independent. I have been an independent for 30 years, but I am seeking the Democratic Party nomination for President of the United States, and obviously, I'm going to follow all of the rules and regulations to get on the ballot as a Democrat.
So if you lose in this nomination fight, will you support the Democratic nominee?
Yes, I have in the past.
Not going to run as an independent?
No, absolutely not. I've been very clear about that.
You know, you said this campaign will be a clash of ideas. Which ideas? What are the biggest differences between you and Hillary Clinton?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with our records. I think at a time when we have seen trillions of dollars shift from the middle class to the top 1/10 of 1%, we have got to say very frankly that the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations are going to have to start paying their fair share of taxes. Profitable corporations can't stash their money in the Cayman Islands and avoid about $100 billion a year in taxes. That's my view. In terms of climate change, I believe this is the great global environmental crisis of our time. I think we need extremely bold leadership. I have been leading the effort against the Keystone pipeline. In terms of trade, I believe that the trade agreements we've had from way back, NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, have been a disaster. I voted against them. I'm helping to lead the effort against the Trans-Pacific Partnership so that we do not continue to see shutdowns of factories in America and the loss of millions of decent-paying jobs.
Hillary Clinton hasn't taken a final stand on that yet.
That's my understanding.
And let me ask you also, you told my colleague John Carl this week that you have some concerns about the money raised by the Clinton Foundation. What are those concerns exactly?
Well, it's not just the Clinton Foundation. Here are my concerns, George, and it should be the concern of every American. And this is, in a sense, what my campaign is about. Can somebody who is not a billionaire, who stands for working families, actually win an election in which billionaires are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the election? It's not just Hillary. It is the Koch brothers. It is Sheldon Adelson.
But you're lumping her in with them.
What I am saying is that I get very frightened about the future of American democracy when this becomes a battle between billionaires. I believe in one person, one vote. I believe we need a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. And let me say this. On our first day that we were out, we asked people to get involved in our campaign. 100,000 people signed up. 35,000 people made donations to BernieSanders.com, and we raised on that first day $1.5 million. And you know what the average contribution was?
What was it?
$43.
And you got that BernieSanders.com back out there again. We'll see what comes in today.
You want to repeat that, George?
But let's talk about a Sanders administration. What would it look like? You voted against both Obama Treasury Secretary nominees, both Jack Lew and Tim Gutner. Name a couple people you would consider for Treasury Secretary.
Robert Reich is somebody who who was in fact the Secretary of Labor. You know Robert. Mm-hmm. I think he has been a strong progressive and understands that what we need are economic policies that benefit working families, not the big money. You're right. I voted against these guys, and I led the effort when I was in the House against the deregulation of Wall Street. I knew then that would be a disaster, and turned out, unfortunately, that I was right.
How about Secretary of Defense?
No, a little bit premature.
Premature? You're not ready to do that yet?
Not ready to do that.
Let me ask you, the presidential campaigns are famously x-ray the souls of candidate. Every part of your life is going to be recognized. So let's do a shortcut. What's the most surprising thing people are going to learn about Bernie Sanders over the course of the next year?
Well, I think Bernie Sanders is the proud grandfather of 7 beautiful kids, grandchildren, 4 kids, married for almost 30 years. I grew up in a low-income, low middle-class income family in Brooklyn, New York, 3.5-room rent-controlled apartment. And growing up without a whole lot of money, George, that has been, I think, the most significant educational factor, if you like, in my life. I know what it's like to live in a family without a lot of money.
Most people don't believe you can actually become president of the United States. Are you worried at all that your race might weaken Hillary Clinton without helping yourself?
Well, let me just say this about my political career. I think few would argue that it is the most unusual political career in the United States Senate. Nobody thought that I would be elected mayor of Burlington, Vermont. Very few people thought that I would beat an incumbent Republican to become United States Congressman from Vermont by 16 points. And people weren't so sure I could beat the richest person in Vermont to become a United States Senator. So I would say, don't underestimate me.
Bernie Sanders, thanks very much.
Thank you, Joe.
And coming up, the roundtable weighs in on Bernie Sanders.